My birthday was supposed to be unforgettable, and it was, just not for the reasons I had imagined. I'd spent weeks planning this little party in our apartment. Candles, cake, lights. It wasn't just about turning 30, it was about sharing. The news: I was pregnant, 8 weeks in, barely showing, but the nausea was constant, and the joy even more so. I imagined the moment, cutting the cake, saying something cheesy like, "There's another candle coming soon," and seeing the shock and smiles. I imagined Justin smiling, but what happened instead? That haunts me. Justin and I had been together for almost 4 years, met at a work mixer neither of us wanted to attend. He spilled wine on my skirt. I snapped at him. He laughed. That was our start. He was charming in that subtle, calculated way. Flowers for no reason, but always with a picture for Instagram. Morning coffee in bed, but he'd mention it 3 times to his friends. I told myself it was just love language. He just liked people to see what we had. I ignored the way he flinched when I mentioned kids. How he'd always say, "Not yet, babe," then change the subject. We lived together in a cozy apartment that I paid more than half of. He was always between clients. I was steady, the planner. He was the dreamer, the spontaneous one. He called it balance. I called it exhausting, but love makes you overlook a lot, or at least, it made me. Even when I found the dinner receipts from places I'd never been to, even when he was vague about his whereabouts, I didn't want to be the jealous girlfriend. I wanted to be the cool one, the trusting one. So I planned my birthday as a reveal. Just close friends, Barbara, my ride or die, my cousin Lana, a few friends from work, even Maria, who I'd known since college and who Justin always swore he just didn't vibe with. I decorated, I cooked. I wore a dress that made me feel like someone in control. I rehearsed what I'd say when I made the announcement. I was nervous, sure, but happy. I thought he would be too. Around 9, Justin tapped his glass. Everyone turned. He smiled at me like I was a secret joke. He talked about how grateful he was, how special I was, how he never met someone who made life so easy. My eyes watered. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe he's proposing. Maybe he knew. Maybe he handed me a box. Small, elegant. Everyone watched. Phones up. I smiled, heart pounding. Opened it. Inside was a folded note. I unfolded it, still smiling. Then I read the words. "I'm leaving you. You're useless. I deserve better. Your stuff will be packed by Monday." For a moment, I thought it was a prank, part of the speech, a twisted joke, but he just stood there. Then he laughed, loud, like I'd told the funniest joke in the world. A few people laughed with him, awkward, confused, waiting for a punchline. I waited too, but there wasn't one. Then he turned and walked out the front door, just like that. No explanation, no second glance. Left me standing in front of our friends, holding a note that shattered everything. My hands were shaking. I felt my throat close. I hadn't even told him about the baby yet, about how I'd chosen that night because I wanted him to be part of the joy, and instead, he'd turned it into my humiliation. Everyone stared at me, silence thick as fog. Then Barbara moved, took the note from my hand, read it, her jaw clenched. "He's a bastard," she said, and still, I didn't cry. I smiled, because in that moment, I understood something that he didn't. He thought he had ended the story, but he had only ended his chapter. Mine was just beginning, and he had no idea what I was capable of. The silence after he left wasn't silence at all. It was noise in my head, screaming thoughts, rushing blood. I stood there, holding that box like it still meant something. People started moving, some toward the door, some toward me. I could feel their eyes, pity, confusion, judgment, but I didn't let my face crack. I smiled, the kind of smile you put on when your whole life just got rewritten, and you're the only one holding the pen now. Barbara didn't leave my side. She wrapped an arm around me and said, "Let's sit down." I let her guide me to the couch. I could hear someone whispering, "Was that real?" Someone else said, "I thought they were happy." Funny, I thought we were happy too. For the past year, I had been building a future while he was drafting his exit, and he chose my birthday, my moment, to stage his big reveal. The others didn't know what to do. Aaron offered to help clean up. Sergio handed me a glass of water. My cousin Lana muttered something about keying his car. It was chaos disguised as concern. I didn't blame them. No one prepares for something like this. No one expects to witness a relationship implode in real time. And me? I wasn't ready to fall apart. Not yet. I cut the cake myself. Clean slice, straight through the middle. I handed pieces to everyone. Thanked them for coming. Told them not to worry. I was fine. I wasn't, but I would be. That was the difference. Maria said she felt sick and left early. Of course she did. Of course. I watched her go without a word. She didn't even look at me as she grabbed her coat and slipped out the door. Guilt walks fast. By midnight, it was just Barbara and me. She refused to leave. I told her she didn't have to stay. She ignored me and started folding the streamers like nothing had happened. That's Barbara. Quiet loyalty. No theatrics. When the last dish was washed, I sat on the couch and it all hit me. The tears, the nausea, the weight of what was now real. I was pregnant, alone, and freshly discarded. I told her everything. The pregnancy, the way I'd planned the reveal, the hotel receipts I found, the texts on his Apple Watch from M, the jewelry purchase that never made it to me. She didn't look surprised, just angry, protective. She called him every name I was too tired to say. And then she sat next to me and held my hand until I could breathe again. We stayed up until sunrise, planning, calculating. She helped me make lists, appointments to reschedule, things to pack. She even started looking up tenant laws in case he tried anything with the apartment. She asked if I was going to tell him about the baby. I said no, not yet. That was mine. That was the one thing he hadn't ruined. He would find out when I decided. In the stillness of morning, with swollen eyes and an empty stomach, I felt something shift. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explain. He walked away thinking he'd won, thinking I'd collapse. But I wasn't collapsing. I was cocooning. And soon, he'd see the difference. He called me useless. He laughed as he walked out. But he doesn't know me. I'm not his broken girl. I'm the storm he just invited into his life. He didn't come back the next day. Not a call, not a text, nothing. I guess that was his big move. Make a dramatic exit and never look back. But I wasn't waiting. Barbara stayed with me Sunday too. We ordered greasy food that I barely touched, watched trash TV with the volume way up, and every time I zoned out staring at the wall, she gently brought me back. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, one hand on my stomach, whispering promises to a future I was suddenly parenting alone. By Monday, reality hit like a freight train. I called in sick to work. Then I called my OB and moved my first prenatal visit up. I needed facts, information, control. I started a spreadsheet, budget, appointment dates, housing options. I pulled up Justin's credit reports using info he'd once drunkenly rattled off. The man had more debt than I realized. I wasn't just left. I was left holding his mess. Mid-afternoon, my phone buzzed. A message from Justin. Just one line. I'll be by at 7 to get my things. Make sure you're not there. I stared at the screen for a full minute. The audacity. No apology. No explanation. Just a command, like I was an inconvenience to be managed. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. I had other plans. I called Barbara. She called Aaron and Sergio. By 6:30, my apartment was full. Not with tension, but with loyalty. Real, warm, loud loyalty. We didn't speak much about what might happen. We just waited. At exactly 7, the doorbell rang. Justin. Of course he was punctual. Always is when he's the one in control. He opened the door and froze. Aaron stood up first. "You here for your suitcase?" he asked. Justin blinked, like he hadn't expected a welcoming committee. He mumbled something about needing to grab more than that, but Barbara cut in. "You can email Lily a list. Right now, you take the bag and go." He scanned the room, probably, looking for me. I was on the couch, still and calm. That silence again, but this time it was mine, my choice. He walked in slowly, grabbed the suitcase, then looked at me. "So that's it?" he said. His voice was laced with mock hurt, like he hadn't burned everything down just 2 nights ago. I didn't respond. He wanted a reaction. I gave him stillness. His eyes flicked toward the kitchen, like he might try to push past. Aaron shifted forward slightly, and Justin stopped. He muttered something under his breath. "You always needed an audience." Then he left, just like that. Slammed the door, but the frame didn't even shake. Barbara sat beside me again. I felt my whole body finally relax. Not because it was over, but because I'd survived the first confrontation, the first real test of not folding. That night, I made another promise to myself. No more reacting on his timeline. No more letting him dictate the story. He left thinking he controlled the narrative. But I held the truth about the baby, about the betrayal, about the things I could do with silence and strategy. And that scared him more than any screaming match ever could. He wanted chaos. Instead, I gave him a wall. Tuesday morning came with a different kind of ache. Not heartbreak, not morning sickness, just the heavy realization that nothing was going to be simple anymore. I laid in bed too long, staring at the ceiling fan, wondering how many people already knew, how many of our friends were whispering, speculating, guessing, and still, Maria hadn't said a word, no text, no call. The woman who used to comment, "Love you, girl," on my selfies hadn't even checked in. She was at the party. She saw what happened. She left before the cake was cut. My gut already knew. But I needed proof. It came sooner than I thought. Sergio messaged me that afternoon, said he felt weird not telling me sooner, said he wasn't sure what he'd seen, until now. "I think Justin's been with Maria," he wrote. "We saw them, together, more than once. At that cafe on Melrose, a couple months ago." My stomach dropped. I thanked him, then threw up. Barbara sat next to me on the bathroom floor while I rinsed my mouth. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just rubbed my back and said, "Now we plan." And we did. We listed every financial account, changed passwords. I called the bank and had our joint account frozen. I filed to remove him from the lease, explaining what had happened. Our landlord, a kind woman in her 60s who loved my banana bread, told me she'd seen that kind of man before. She offered to change the locks. The locksmith came on Wednesday. When I heard the click of the new bolt sliding into place, something inside me clicked too. Safety, separation, a new beginning, no more waiting for the other shoe to drop. He had both shoes now. He dropped them himself. That weekend, Justin texted again. This time he wanted to talk. "Just to clear the air," he wrote. "Maybe I handled things badly. Maybe." He suggested coffee. I suggested a lawyer. He didn't like that. Sent 6 messages in a row, backpedaling, bargaining. I ignored them, but I wasn't ignoring the baby. Saturday morning I went to the clinic alone. 8 weeks, confirmed. A strong heartbeat. One tiny flicker on the ultrasound screen that somehow made me feel more alive than I'd felt in weeks. I smiled for real in that moment. Not for anyone else. Just for me. Justin didn't know yet. And I didn't owe him that information. Not now. Not when he'd treated me like a side note in my own life. The irony? He thought he was walking away from a burden. He had no idea he was walking away from the only thing that might have ever made him a better man. Later that night, while brushing my teeth, I got a DM from Maria. "Can we talk?" It read, just that. I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I turned off my phone. She could wait. Let them. Both wait. Because I had something better growing inside me now. I didn't reply to Maria. I didn't need to. She made her choice the moment she walked out of my birthday party and never looked back. Let her sit with it. I had bigger things to focus on now, like whether I could still afford prenatal vitamins and keep my lights on in the same month. Priorities. The next few days were quiet, which felt strange. No texts from Justin, no late-night calls, no Maria trying to explain herself. Just me, Barbara, and my checklist of everything that needed to change. I rearranged the apartment, moved the bed, donated his leftover shoes, took down the photo, collage over the dresser, replaced it with a cheap print of a sunrise I found at a thrift store. It wasn't about pretending he never existed. It was about reclaiming the space where I used to shrink myself, but the silence didn't last. 1 week. After the party, a new number popped up on my phone, a local area code. I didn't answer. The voicemail came 10 minutes later. It was Justin. He sounded strained, said he'd heard rumors, asked if it was true. "Are you really pregnant?" I didn't respond. I went for a walk instead. 2 hours. Later, he tried again. "Lily, this involves me too. I have rights." That part made me laugh. He hadn't cared about rights when he slipped a breakup note into a gift box and humiliated me in front of our closest friends. Now, suddenly, he wanted to play family man? I sent one text. "Do not come to my apartment. If you do, I'll call the police." He didn't respond. Not right away, but that night, at 11:17 p.m., he showed up. I heard the knock before I saw the headlights flash through the living room window. I was in bed, reading baby name blogs and eating crackers. My stomach dropped. I didn't move at first. Then I heard his voice. "Lily, please. I just need to see you. I need to talk." I stood in the hallway, hand on the wall for balance. He sounded not angry, just wrecked, like someone whose life had come apart faster than he planned. I stepped closer to the door but didn't open it. "Go home, Justin," I said through the wood. "I need to know. Is it true?" "Yes," I said. "I'm 18 weeks. And yes, it's yours." A pause, then a thud, like he leaned his head against the door. "Maria left me," he mumbled. "She said I lied, that I'm not who she thought I was." I almost laughed. "She's right." He kept talking, asking to come in, begging for a conversation. I told him we could talk tomorrow. Daylight. Sober. Somewhere public. He agreed. Said 10 a.m. at Main Street Cafe. I said, "Be on time or don't come at all." Then I sat on the couch and watched him walk back to his car. I didn't cry. Not this time. I'd already buried the girl he left behind. Now he was about to meet the woman who rose from the ashes. I didn't sleep that night. Not from nerves. Those were long gone. I was awake because my mind was loud again. Loud in a different way this time. Planning, preparing, wondering what kind of father a man like Justin could possibly be. Not just a sperm donor, a father. The thought made my stomach turn more than morning sickness ever did, but I showed up. Main Street Cafe, 9:52 a.m. I picked the corner booth near the window and ordered mint tea. He arrived at 9:59, looking exactly how I expected, rumpled, hollow-eyed, like he hadn't eaten or shaved in a week. but sober. I'll give him that much. He sat across from me, said nothing for a long moment, then slid a latte toward me like it was a peace offering. I pushed it back. Herbal tea only, I said flatly. Caffeine makes me sick. He blinked. I didn't know. Exactly, I said. Then he started talking, apologizing. The birthday, the note, Maria, the money. I was spiraling, he said. I thought if I made it messy enough, you'd hate me. Leave first. I sipped my tea. You wanted to look like the victim. He didn't deny it. He asked if we could talk about us. I laughed, short and sharp. There is no us. There's me, and there's our child. That's it. Then I pulled out the folder. Legal documents, prenatal records, child support calculations, a printed schedule for doctor visits he could attend if he showed up. His face changed, from regret to panic. Wait, this is real? It's been real. You just weren't paying attention. He kept trying to pivot back to feelings. I still love you. Maybe we can fix this. Love, I said, doesn't look like a gift box with a breakup letter, and fixing this isn't on the table. You broke it on purpose. I stood to leave. He grabbed my wrist. Again. I just want to be part of this. I looked at his hand. He let go. You can be part of this, I said, but only if you stop making everything about you. I slid the folder across the table. Talk to your lawyer. Show up sober. Bring diapers instead of drama. He looked like a man watching his whole life slip through his fingers, because he was, and I wasn't going to catch it for him. The weeks that followed felt like someone hit fast forward on my life. Suddenly everything was moving. Baby furniture arriving, court paperwork progressing, maternity clothes taking over my closet. I was growing, literally and emotionally. And Justin, he was trying. He came to the next 2 prenatal visits, showed up on time, asked questions, didn't touch me, didn't push. He sat in the corner with a notebook, scribbling things down like he was cramming for a test he never studied for. Part of me admired the effort. Part of me waited for the act to slip, and it almost did. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I was at Target, again, debating between 2 brands of baby wipes when I saw her. Maria, same aisle. We locked eyes. She froze. I didn't. I nodded once. Polite, detached. She stepped closer. I didn't know, she said, voice low. He told me you were already over, that you'd moved on. I swear. I shrugged. Doesn't really matter now, does it? I wouldn't have gotten involved if I'd known. I laughed. Then you didn't know him at all. She looked tired, hollowed out, like someone who realized the diamond ring was glass after all. He's not who I thought he was, she said. Welcome to the club. We didn't talk long, but before we parted, she asked if the baby was okay. I told her yes, healthy, strong. She smiled, faint, sad, and walked away. That night, Justin texted, Maria left. I didn't reply. The next day, I lost my job. Still no reply. Friday, he showed up at my door with bags under his eyes and a folder in his hands. I signed the paperwork, he said. All of it. I want to do this right. He looked around my living room. Soft green walls, a hand-me-down rocking chair, tiny baby shoes lined up by the door. I could see it hit him. This was supposed to be our home. No, I said. This was supposed to be mine. You just lived here. He nodded slowly, then handed me a journal. Brown leather, cheap but sturdy. Inside was a note. For your thoughts, your stories, your strength. I see it now. I didn't say thank you. Just took the journal and closed the door. I spent the rest of the night writing. Not about him, but about her. The girl I used to be, before he tried to erase her. The woman I became the moment I refused. She arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning in late spring. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, dark curls, big eyes, and lungs that could rival a smoke alarm. I named her Iris, after the flower that blooms even through harsh winters. Holding her for the first time was like breathing after months underwater. Barbara was there. Of course she was. She held my hand through every contraction, coached me through every breath. Justin was there too. He stood awkwardly in the corner of the delivery room, red-eyed and silent, until she let out her first cry, and then something in him cracked. He cried too. I watched his face closely, not for softness, but for sincerity. For once, I think it was real. The weeks after her birth were chaos, diapers, midnight feedings, sleep deprivation that made me hallucinate once that the lamp was talking. To me, my mom came to stay for a bit. She rearranged my pantry and kept trying to put raisins in everything. I let her. It felt nice to be taken care of, even if the oatmeal was questionable. Justin came by often. Not every day, but enough. He brought wipes, formula, a stuffed bunny she couldn't hold yet but would someday chew the ears off. He still got things wrong, showed up too late, forgot to wash his hands, but he tried, and I saw him trying. One afternoon, I found him sitting on the couch with Iris asleep on his chest, whispering, "I'm sorry I didn't show up sooner." She had no idea, but I did. Maria sent a card, no return address, just a small pink envelope, with a message inside, "You deserved better. I hope you got it." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. A few days ago, I hosted a small birthday dinner dinner, my first since the note. Barbara, Lana, Aaron, Sergio, the people who stayed, who showed up when he didn't. We laughed, we toasted, no grand speeches, no boxes with secret notes. And then, when the cake came out, I held Iris in my arms and said quietly, "This is the best gift I've ever received." My voice cracked a little, but it was joy, not pain, because I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't his discarded toy. I was someone's mother, someone's safe place, someone's home. Justin still calls sometimes, still tries, still stumbles. I let him have space in her life, but not in mine, because forgiveness is not forgetting, it's remembering without bleeding. And as I tucked Iris into her crib that night, I whispered the truth. I wish someone had told me sooner. You're not a burden. You're the miracle they never saw coming. I'm not his clown. I chose peace, and I got even by thriving.